Hello, dear colleagues and participants. We are honored to present our study, Praise and Approval as a Tool for Motivation in Learning at the 12th EUROKD International Hybrid Conference on Education Psychology in Behavioral Science. My name is Gulzhan Nurgaliyeva and I am joined today by my colleagues Maral Zhunusbayeva and Saltanat Omarova. We are geography teachers from Nazarbayev Intellectual School in Astana. Together we explore effective teaching methods and ways to motivate students through research and collaboration.
Motivation is a crucial factor in student learning and achievement. Educators continuously seek strategies to engage students, and prize positive feedback or expressions of approval has long been recognized as a simple yet powerful motivational tool. When used effectively, praise can reinforce desired behaviors and boost students' confidence. For instance, Morin 2020 notes that praise is one of the simplest and most powerful tools to engage and motivate students capable of turning around behavior challenges and improving learners' attitudes towards school. In classroom settings, a teacher's approval can serve as an immediate reward that encourages students to remain on task and persevere in learning challenges. Literature review. Beyond behaviorist reinforcement, researchers have explored how the type of prize impacts students' mindset and motivation. Carol Dweck's work on mindset is especially influential. Dweck found that prizing students for effort or strategies rather than for innate intelligence or talent fosters a growth mindset, the belief that abilities can be developed through hard work. Students with a growth mindset are more likely to embrace challenges, persist in the face of setbacks, and view effort as a path to mastery. In contrast, praise focusing on fixed traits can lead to a fixed mindset in which students become risk-averse and fear failure. Thus, educational theorists emphasize that how praise is given matters. Specific feedback and acknowledgement acknowledges a student's particular effort or improvement is more beneficial, more motivation than generic praise or compliments about inherent ability. Prior studies suggest that praise which is specific, sincere, and focused on improvement can increase students' intrinsic motivation and resilience in learning tasks. Another consideration in using praise as a motivational tool is a developmental and gender-specific context. Adolescents, for example, may respond differently to praise than younger children. As students mature, many become more self-conscious in peer settings. Public praise, while motivating for some, can embarrass others, especially teenagers who fear judgment from classmates. Research on classroom interactions has noted that teachers often handle praise and feedback differently with boys versus girls. Teachers have been found to praise boys more for correct academic answers while tending to praise girls for good behavior or compliance. Such differences can shape how students perceive praise. Likewise, the motivational triggers can vary. Boys may thrive on competition and seek praise that highlights winning or being the best, whereas girls often prefer collaborative environments and appreciate praise that reinforces teamwork and mutual support. These general trends, individual differences certainly exist, but they suggest that gender norms and socialization influence what kind of praise is most effective for motivating different students. Effective teachers are mindful of these nuances, tailoring their praise to be culturally and personally appropriate for each learner. Ultimately, the challenge for educators is to use praise in a strategic way, one that maximizes each student's motivation and self-efficiency without causing undue pressure or rivalry. This study examined how targeted praise can be used as a tool for motivation in learning at a secondary school. Using a mixed methods approach over one academic year, we collected data from 102 students and 35 teachers at Nazarbayev intellectual schools. Surveys and structured lesson observations were employed to gather quantitative and qualitative evidence. Results indicate that specific timely price significantly increases student engagement. 85% of students reported stronger involvement when teachers gave specific feedback on their efforts. Classroom observation showed on-task engagement rising by approximately 40% when praise was given during task execution. Praise and approval were widely believed to positively influence student motivation. Older students, particularly 30% of those in grades 9 and 10, expressed a preference for private, individualized praise over public acknowledgement. Notable gender differences emerged. Boys responded enthusiastically to praise with a competitive tone, whereas girls preferred praise, emphasizing collaboration and group success. Teacher surveys reveal 60% primarily use effort-focused praise, while 40% rely on generic praise.
This study explored how teachers' praise influences student motivation and engagement across one academic year. We wanted to understand not only whether praise motivates students, but also how different types, timing, and styles of praise shape engagement in real classrooms. To do that, we used mixed method design, combining the both numbers and narrative, or in other words, quantitative and qualitative data. This approach gave us the fuller, more balanced pictures of what actually happens when teachers praise students during the lessons. So, this research was conducted at Nazarbayev Intellectual School in Astana, focusing on the grades 7 through 10. A total of 102 students and 35 teachers participate. The student samples included both boys and girls, reflecting the co-educational environment of the school. The teacher sample spanned various subjects through the significant portion taught geography, which was the focus subject for the lesson observations. The teachers group had the diverse experience levels from the early career teachers to senior educators, providing a range of the perspectives on the praise use. All participants were drawn from the same school's network to maintain consistency in education context. We used two main methods to gather data: structured surveys and lesson observations, supported by regular performance assessments. Let's look at each part more closely. First, the surveys. We designed two questionnaires, one for students and one for teachers. The student survey asks how praise affects their motivation and engagement. They rate statements like "receiving praise from my teacher motivates me to work harder" on a 5-point scale. They also shared preferences from the example, whether they liked the praise in the front of peers or in a private, and describes experience when the praise was helpful or on the contrary uncomfortable. The teacher surveys included the similar structure, multiple choice, and open-ended questions. Teachers reflected on how often they praise students, what type of praise they use, such as a praise for effort, praise for achievement, or simple compliments, and how they believe praise affects motivations. They also gave examples from their practice describing what worked best and what didn't. Second, we conducted structured lesson observation. We used an adapted version of the lesson study approach, a collaborative method originally developed in Japan. In the process, teachers and researchers jointly plan and observe real lessons, focusing on specific aspects of students' learning. Our observation checklist centered on 3 key areas: when and how teachers gave praise; second, what kind of praise was used, specific feedback or general comments; third one, how students reacted, through engagement, participation, or visible enthusiasm. We observed 27 lessons in total, mainly in geography classes across grades 7 to 10. Each lesson was observed by 1 or 2 trained researchers who remained obtrusive, simply recording what happened. After lessons, teachers were sometimes interviewed briefly to reflect on their use of praise. For example, when they choose the praise, why did it at that moment, and what reaction they noticed. In addition, to the survey and observations, we also looked at the students' performance data. Nazarbayev Intellectual Schools use a criteria-based grading system, which helped us track whether changes in motivation, for example, more praise translated into measurable improvements in students' work quality over time. Let's go to the results. Our findings reveal several important ways in which praise and approval impact students' motivation and engagement. Key results from the keys and observations are summarized below. Specific praise increased the motivation. An overwhelming majority of students reported that receiving specific praise boosts their motivation. In our student survey, 85% of students agreed that they feel more engaged and willing to participate when teachers praise something particular about their work or effort. Students described feeling noticed and encouraged to keep trying when teachers point out exactly what they did well. This was contrasted with genetic praise, which, while positive, was often described as less impactful. Our observation supported these classes where teachers frequently used specific praise saw visible higher levels of student attentiveness. In these classes, students were more likely to stay on task and show enthusiasm. As noted by observers, specific praise seems to validate not just to students' self-esteem but also provided clear feedback, which helped students understand why they were being praised and how to replicate their success. Timing of praise matters. The timing of praise turned out to be crucial. When teachers praised students during a task while they were still working, engagement levels increased by around 40%. In other words, when teachers caught students doing something right in the moment, it had immediate energizing effect. Students become more focused, more eager to participate, and more willing to help peers. By contrast, praise given only at the end of the task or lesson, while still appreciated, didn't have the same instant impact. This shows that the real-time feedback reinforces effort as it happens, keeping motivation alive throughout the learning process. Older students prefer private praise. As students grow older, their feelings about public recognition change. Our surveys early revealed that nearly one-third of students in grades 9 and 10 preferred private praise. Many say they still appreciated recognition, but public praise made them feel self-conscious. Some mentioned they worried about being judged by classmates or didn't want to appear as a teacher's favorites. Younger students, on the other hand, usually enjoyed public praise. They saw it as a fun and motivating. This highlights a key developmental shift. As adolescent becomes more aware of peer perceptions, teachers need to adapt, offering quiet personal encouragement rather than overt public recognition. Gender differences in response to praise. Our qualitative data also suggested subtle gender differences. Boys often responded well to what we called competitive praise, recognition that highlighted performance, speed, or achievement. They enjoyed challenges and moments of friendly rivalry. Girls, however, tended to respond better to collaborative praise, comments that acknowledged teamwork, empathy, or collective success. They valued feedback that reinforced social connection and group harmony. Of course, these are general tendencies. Individual preferences vary widely, but the trend suggested that the cultural and social expectations can shape how different students interpret praise. Effective teachers, therefore, tailor their approach, blending both competitive and cooperative elements to reach every learner. So as we can see from the survey, students are usually very active at the beginning of the lesson, but the activity drops a bit in the middle. Many of them say that want more attention and support, especially at the start. By the end of the lesson, some students start to feel tired, feel quiet, and few still enjoy being active and taking the lead.
Discussion. These findings highlight that prize approval, when used thoroughly, can significantly enhance students' motivation and engagement. In line with previous research and theory, our study reinforces several key points about effective prize and adds nuanced insights specific to age and gender factors. In this section, we interpret the implications of the results and relate them to the broader educational context. Firstly, the importance of specific effort-focused prize cannot be overstated. The strong student response to specific prize areas. The literature that contains prize should be informational, not just vacuous applause. When a teacher says you did a great job because you explained your reasoning clearly, it serves a dual purpose. It rewards the student's effort, and it provides guidance on what behavioral skill to continue. This aligns with Dweck's emphasis on prizing the process and effort to cultivate resilience and a growth mindset. Our finding that many teachers focus on effort-based prize is encouraging. It suggests that professional knowledge is translating into practice for a majority. However, the fact that 40% still rely on generic price indicates room for improvement. Generic price is not harmful per se, but it's a missed opportunity. It doesn't give students a roadmap for what behaviors to repeat. In professional development, schools could emphasize techniques of behavior-specific price or to shift more price from the generic to the specific category. This would magnify the motivational impact. We observe potential rising that 85% engagement figure even higher. Timing elements that during task price builds engagement by 40%, provides a concrete strategy for educators catch students being good in real time. This finding can be interpreted through both behavioral and cognitive lenses. Behaviorally, immediate reinforcement is known to be most effective in shaping behavior. Our classroom observations show this principle in action. Cognitively, acknowledging a student's effort or progress right when it occurs can validate their strategy and reduce uncertainty, thus encouraging them to double down on the task. Importantly, this doesn't mean teachers should interrupt constantly to lavish praise. It means well-timed, genuine praise-meet activity, for example, circulating around the room and quietly saying, "I see you are really focused, keep it up," or publicly, "Nothing. I'm noticing a lot of creative ideas from this group, excellent thinking here," can serve as a booster shot of motivation. Teachers might consider structuring in a couple of moments in each lesson to share such observation. Our data suggests students become more absorbed in their work after such encouragement. Moreover, this practice can be part of formative assessment. The teacher is actively monitoring and giving feedback, which not only motivates but also guides students on the right path. Observe gender nuances in response to price align with some classical findings in educational psychology, but also challenge us to avoid one-size-fits-all approaches. That boys seem to enjoy competitive price and girls collaborative price resonates with known gender socialization patterns. However, educators should be careful not to reinforce stereotypes or overlook individual differences. The takeaway here is not to treat all boys and girls differently by default, but to diversify prize methods and be attentive to what engages your particular students. For example, incorporating healthy competition particularly sparked some boys' motivation. Indeed, several boys in our study mentioned that they loved being singled out as the best at something in a friendly contest. Meanwhile, integrating cooperative learning and then prizing the group's effort and unity might resonate strongly with many girls who in our data often express pride in collective accomplishments. One practical strategy is to use team competitions where prize can be given both to top performing teams and to how well teams work together. This gives all students a pathway to feeling proud and recognized either because they won or because they exemplify teamwork or improvement. Implications. Finally, linking these insights back to their broader educational purpose, effective prize contributes to a positive learning environment and can nurture intrinsic motivation. However, there are potential pitfalls if prize is misused. If prize becomes overly frequent and indiscriminate, it could lose meaning. Students might start to tune it out or adopt its sincerity. Similarly, if price is used to compare students, it might motivate the top students but discourage others or breed unhealthy rivalry. Our recommendations, therefore, stress a thoughtful approach, using prize to empower students rather than control them, to recognize improvement rather than sort winners and losers. When done right, price doesn't inflate egos or encourage complacency. It fuels continued effort and resilience. We saw evidence of this. Students who received genuine specific prize often responded by pushing themselves further. Teachers noted that some previously quiet students become more active participants after their contributions were positively highlighted, and struggling students put in extra effort on homework after being praised for a small success in class. These are the outcomes we want, not students who work only for prize, but who internalize the message of prize and thus become self-motivated learners.
In conclusion, this study confirms that the praise and approval are powerful tools for motivation students. However, their effectiveness depends on how they are used. Thoughtful and sincere praise can inspire students' passion for learning, increase their perseverance, and create the positive classroom atmosphere. We have seen that students become more engaged when teachers acknowledge their efforts especially and sincerely. Effective praise should always consider context and individual differences. By meeting students where they are, teachers show that they truly value their progress. Overall, our findings suggested that teachers should focus on the process, celebrate improvements, and support students' emotional comfort. When praise is used wisely, it fosters motivation, confidence, and a sense of belonging, helping to create an inclusive and supportive learning community. Broader implication is the praise is not merely about boosting egos or rewarding behavior, it's about shaping attitudes towards learning. Over time, consistent encouragement helps students internalize their belief that effort matters and they are capable of environment. Effective praise helps students become better learners, developing confidence, curiosity, and resilience. It's a tool that, when guided with a care and wisdom, can inspire students not only to achieve in the moment, but also to grow as a lifelong learners. In a sense, praise used rightly is an investment in the students' future selves, guiding them to become the individuals who value effort, embrace challenge, and believe in their own potential. Thank you for your attention.